Good afternoon, curling fans. Welcome back for the final time in this competition to the Palladium here in lovely Champéry. You got a nice view of some of the highlights of this area in the little introduction video there, and it's a lovely day here. Whoever ordered the weather took a wee while to arrive, but it's here now. And for the final time this weekend then, here we are watching the grand final of the Curling Masters here in Champéry. We started off with 16 teams, a little bit of a reduced field this year due to travel restrictions and health restrictions, but we down to 2 now. The 2 strongest teams still standing, and playing red stones in today's final is Team Jungen from Club Adelboden, and playing yellow stones in this final is Team Schwaller from Club Bern. So an all-Swiss affair. And Schwaller's team probably quite familiar to a lot of curling fans. Team Jungen maybe not so familiar, but plenty of talent in that team. Mark Vista has been in the final 4 times in this competition. And Simon Gempler has played the final in this competition as well, so plenty of experience in both teams actually. And Team Jungen not in this final by accident. They have picked off Niklas Edin and Peter De Cruz on the way to this final. They are in great form this weekend, and they will definitely fancy lifting this title after this game. And we see in this first end there was a free guard zone violation. That red stone that Bjorn has there, I think it's Simon as a vice skip, that has to go back. That was knocked out of play by Schwaller by mistake, so the teams put it back. It's actually Team Jungen's decision where their red stone goes back to, and as we often say in curling, nobody takes advantage of that. We do put it back where we think it was. Nobody tries to be sneaky about it. But a bit of a missed start for Team Schwaller. They have not had long since their semi-final. If you joined us at 9 o'clock for the semi-final games this morning, we had an absolute cracker between Team Schwaller against Team Retornaz from Italy. The Italian team was unbeaten up to that point, and they were absolutely dominant in the first half of the game. But then one kind of half shot from Italy gave Schwaller's team the chance to put up a big 3 to get back into the game. They took that lifeline and ran with it all the way to an extra end and finally won the game. So super game. If you didn't see it, that will be in the video vault of this YouTube channel, WCT TV. But now we can see 5 stones have been played, so the free guard zone is over. And now Yannick Schwaller can go ahead and start removing guards. So that certainly moves things around a bit. There's still a couple of stones out front. You can see Schwaller has hammer, the last shot in this first end, playing yellow stones. So he's quite happy with those 2 yellows guarding outside the 4-foot. Whereas Team Jungen, of course, they're doing the opposite. They're happy to keep play towards the centre. So that's stone from Amanda Meyer from Team Schwaller. Certainly move things around, but definitely still options here. So we'll introduce the teams properly in just a second. You can catch up with all that's been going on this weekend, and there's been a whole lot of stuff going on. There's been some sort of classically exciting games. I recommend the Dorp De Cruz game from the round robin. That went exactly as you would think. That was a real tight battle all the way to an extra end. And then there have been a couple of unexpected, perhaps, results. As I said, Team Jungen not here by accident. They pretty much chased both Niklas Edin and Peter De Cruz off the ice. It was, I think, 6-0 was their score against Edin, and this morning it was 8-2 in 5-6 ends against Peter De Cruz. Plenty to discuss then on the back of this weekend, and you can keep up with what's going on from this weekend as well as upcoming events. You can check that out at worldcurling.org on the website. You can watch the games here on WCT TV, and make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell so that you're always getting updates when games are about to start. And you can also find World Curling Tour on Instagram and on Facebook, so plenty of places to keep up with your curling diet. So we will say hello to the teams. That was a bit of a mishmash of quite a lot of teams, but this looks a bit better. On the left, we have Team Jungen. Fourth thrower is Mark Pfister. Third thrower is Tim Jungen. Second thrower and skip is Björn Jungen. And lead is Simon Gempler. And they're from Club Adelboden. And on the right of your screen, we have Team Schwaller. Fourth thrower and skip is Yannick Schwaller. Third thrower, Michael Brunner. Second, Romano Meyer, and lead thrower, Marcel Keufler. So I think, yeah, like I said, Team Jungen having the tournament of their life so far. They're kicking a lot of butt out there. And Schaller's team, traditionally one of our strong teams, they're the current European silver medalists. So I expect a good battle out there today. Although we've said that for a couple of games, which didn't quite work out the way we perhaps thought they would. If you're just joining us, good afternoon. We're here at the Curling Masters in Champéry, and this is the final between all Swiss affair. It's between Team Jungen from Club Adelboden and Team Schwaller from Club Bern. My name is Lorna Rettig, and I will be guiding us through this final game of this competition. We're here in the first end of the final. Team Schwaller has last stone, and yeah, yellow looking quite handy in this first end. So Björn Jungen will be a little bit wary of letting too many yellows start building up. And I think there is a double here, but they're staying well away from the sweepers. So not a bad result. Is that going to... He's not quite going to get it out. So the shot was there. I think it maybe just didn't curl quite enough for them. But that removed that final corner guard as well, so that was a nice result. We started out with 16 teams in the competition. All the competitions this year have been affected by COVID restrictions and travel restrictions. Typically we would have 24 teams in this competition, so a little bit smaller than normal. But big thanks to all 16 teams for supporting the competition in these challenging times and making themselves available. Some curling countries are still quarantined at home, really, not able to travel, and that results in the slightly smaller field that we see. And I think all competitions facing the same challenges this year. It's quite difficult to keep competitions running when several of the teams are not able to travel. But we started with 4 groups of 4, 16 teams. The top 8 of those teams played the quarterfinals last night. And that was another slightly surprising session. We had the 2 semi-finals this morning, and now 2 teams still standing are Team Jungen playing red shots from Adelboden and Team Schwaller playing yellow shots with last stone from from Club Bern. So don't adjust your eyes. That camera shot is a little bit fuzzy. There's nothing wrong with your screen or indeed your eyes. If you want to say hi, or if you have questions for us or comments on the game, do feel welcome to use the chat here in the YouTube channel. Plenty to talk about from this competition. As I said, some great games, some really tight games, some real blowouts, surprisingly. Well, lots of good curling to look back on. So, first shot in this game for Yannick Schwaller. This team has not had much of a rest. Their semi-final went to an extra end. And this is all over the guard. That's not it at all. Dear oh dear. I wonder if some tiredness may be starting to creep in for both teams. It's a long weekend. There's plenty of games. And as I said, Team Schwaller, they only had less than an hour really to recover after their semi-final and get back out there for the final. Team Jungen had a much shorter game. As I said, they fair chased Peter De Cruz off the ice in 5 or 6 ends, and they had a nice rest and time to get something to eat, recover a little bit. So they may be the slightly fresher team out there. And that was a bit of a mistake there from Schwaller with his first shot in this first end. And Team Jungen have done really well this weekend, really punishing teams for making mistakes against them. They've got a couple of the more well-known teams having a bit of an off day, and as I said, they picked off Niklas Edin and Peter De Cruz on the way to this final, and they are in hot form. So just protecting that shot in the front there. That's a nice result. So Schwaller facing 2 reds, and he's going to have to draw just about to the 4-foot. I think touching the 4-foot will be enough, but forced to score 1 in this first end. No double available, so he can't bring those other 2 yellows on the right of our screen. He can't get those into play. No double takeout on the reds, so he's got no choice. He has to draw for 1 shot. So a bit of a pressure shot already in this first end, but that's Yannick Schwaller's job. He knows that's why he's here, is to draw the 4-foot to get out of trouble. Make sure, he says, and the sweepers accompanying it all the way. They may be thinking he's just a little bit of help. I think he looks pretty comfortable. Yeah, no trouble there. Is it going to stop? I think it will. Yeah, nice pressure throw there from Yannick Schwaller. That's good to get that under your belt. And just feel comfortable that you can draw the 4-foot with last shot if needed. Bright start again then from Team Jungen. They got a little mistake out of Team Schwaller, put pressure on, and they've forced Team Schwaller to score 1 point and give up last stone. So Team Jungen, they will now have last stone in the second end. And they've been making handy use of having last shot. This is the third time we've been watching Team Schwaller. We saw their very first game against Team Schnider, which they won. And we watched their semi-final this morning against Team Retornaz from Italy. That was a great game. If you didn't manage to see that, I can recommend going back and taking a look at that. They were really under pressure in the first half. Italy were all over the game in the first half, and Yannick Schwaller had to make a couple of stones in the second or third end to really save the game. Italy were lying plenty, but they weathered that storm, gathered themselves together, and just picked it all the way back to last stone in the extra end to qualify here. So that was a really fun game to watch. And this is our second look at Team Jungen for the weekend. You can go back and watch their careful demolition of Niklas Edin. They found Team Edin on really having a bit of an off day and took full advantage. And as we keep saying, yeah, we can't be in top form all the time. Even the best team in the world for the past 10 years or so, in my opinion, Niklas Edin, even they have an off day sometimes. Doesn't happen very often. But Team Jungen were in the right place to take advantage of it. Classic start then to the second end. We haven't quite got the score up on the board, but that was 1 point to Schwaller in the first end, and we're now setting up the second end. We will see the tactics reversed. Now that Team Jungen has the hammer, they're quite happy to play away from the centre. And Schwaller, without last stone, he wants to play towards. And again, that's a bit of a half shot there from Marcel Käufler. He's left those two stones quite close together. There, Bjorn Jungen helpfully showing us about 1 stone width apart, those two stones. He can't remove them yet. They're still protected by the free guard zone, but definitely a double takeout will be possible once the free guard zone is over. Those two stones a little bit too close together then. Bjorn Jungen then asking lead thrower Simon Gempler to draw around that corner guard. We've seen a few teams, maybe some of the younger teams that are less experienced, we've seen a few of them getting sucked into a race to the centre. So they throw up the corner guards, but then kind of forget to use them. But that's not the case for Bjorn Jungen, although he's not using it because he was short. But 2 guards isn't a disaster. Better that than long. But meanwhile, Schwaller's got a bit of cover in the middle. He knows that both of those stones can go actually with 1 shot. So he needs to get a nice shot in behind here that he can put a bit of pressure on the Jungen team. That's just running on a bit. It is hidden. It could cause Team Jungen a bit of a nuisance, but it is behind T, so that's a little bit longer than they would have wanted. And indeed, as soon as we can, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stones played, free guard zone is finished. And as soon as they can, Bjorn Jungen aiming to remove this pair of guards. He's certainly got 1. I don't think he's got 2. No, it didn't quite curl enough to get the both of them. And at this level, that's a bit of a half shot as well. They got a slight mistake from Schwaller. Those 2 stones were too close together on the centre line, and they had the opportunity to make the double takeout. Bjorn Jungen will be a little bit disappointed then that he didn't quite take that chance. He only got 1 of them, and it was quite nicely set up for him. And at this level, that's the kind of chance that you're not going to get a second look at potentially.
Nu länge linje is goed. Alles euch. Celone. Yep, Celone. 4-6, hard! Hard! Kom nog niet!
This is more like it. So, bit of a practice shot with his first throw, Romana Meyer, and he's nailed it that time. He has a big set of pipes, Yannick Schwaller. You could hear him urging his sweepers on, and oh dear, we can see that poor old Michael Brunner looks like he's falling apart at the back there. But like I said, they didn't have long between games this morning. They only wrapped up their semi-final just about an hour before this game started, so I'm not surprised if they're starting to feel the burn a little bit, Schwaller's team. I think the three sweepers in Schwaller's team, they will all sleep well this evening. They've had a very heavy day. So that shot just played from Tim Jungen even. That moved things around a bit, but again, it didn't really help because that guard is just off the centre line. And now Yannick Schwaller is going to use it. If you want to say hi, or if you have questions or thoughts on this game, feel welcome to send us a message in the chat. Yeah, that's a nice throw. I think that it's dropped shorter than where they wanted it, but that's found a nice spot. That's definitely causing Bjorn Jungen some trouble, having all this clutter on the centre line. He'd rather keep play away from the centre line because they have last stone. Schwaller has other ideas. Oh, he nearly picks out the one on the 4 foot, but not quite. So, as you were a couple of stones ago, and Schwaller will try again. I think he was aiming to put a second yellow just at the front of the house. And in between, both lengthwise and widthwise, in between that red and the yellow.
Watch out, watch out. Als je dat wil, zweet. Watch out. Immer cello. Fang an, fang an. Schwere weit. Es ist wirklich noch viel Kerle. Halt. Halt.
I think this one's dropping short as well, so they're now sweeping it for line to try to get a plan B. Or maybe they were going for the guard all along. It's landed in roughly the same place as before. Nice result. You can see Bjorn Jungen can't really use his corner guards over there on the left of our screen because he can't risk the centre getting more cluttered up than it is. He's going to have to persist with this tactic of keeping the centre a bit clear and hope that he can get a miss from Yannick Schwaller. And then he could potentially use the corner guards over there. So just the guard this time. And Schwaller's going to put it back. Or again, he may be thinking of putting a second yellow in the house, right in the middle, width and lengthwise, between the yellow on the 4 foot and the red just in front. Yeah, nope, sounds like it is a guard. Pretty much the same place they had it before, or maybe even a little bit longer.
Shoulder curl.
Over curls, he says. And then we'll need to pan up to see if Jungen can
Ja.
therefore get round that guard now.
Hack. 12. Ja. Hack. Ja, was ist 12 ist Hack, oder? Halb ist Hack, ja. 12 ist gut.
It sounds like backline to hack weight. Mark Pfister reckons he can get round and pick that yellow off.
Met möglichst gerade oder immer wicken? Geht, ja. Ja, aber das Tempo lang nicht verzwicken. Mit 12, ja, aber gerade ist gut.
First shot in the second end for fourth thrower Mark Pfister. As we said, Mark's been in this final in different teams, but Mark has played in this final a handful of times actually. He won't be intimidated, he won't feel nervous. As I said, they've killed a couple of giants en route to this final, Team Jungen. No need to feel nervous. They have every right to feel confident about this game. He squeaks. Actually, I think he just touched the guard, didn't he? I thought he was round it. And I think it just touched by molecules, and that's a bit of a disaster because now he's tucked that yellow slightly further in. And yeah, Yannick Schwaller can put some big pressure on now. There was I thought this was round, but we've seen plenty of stones catching a huge curl at the end. That you think it's round, and then molecules that caught it by. And then it still touches the stone, but unfortunately all it does is tuck it in behind, cover better. Bjorn Jungen. Sorry, it's Mark Pfister throwing fourth in this team. Mark Pfister is going to have a tricky shot with his last stone. Yeah, if Schwaller just gets to the face of that yellow already in the 4 foot, they'll have 2 yellows in the 4 foot. No easy way of getting the pair of them out, and Mark Pfister will have quite a tricky stone already in the second end. Last shot in the second end for Schwaller. One more to come for Team Jungen. Sounds like they don't want to sweep it until it's caught the curl a bit. Indeed, it is hanging out, but we've seen the stones really catch the curl at the end, and there it goes. So I think he's played that pretty nicely. Very nice, yeah, no easy double take out there. Best idea then is for Mark Pfister to drive that red back onto the yellows. That way, I think you can get the pair of them out. In a worst case, just the one. Well, in a really worst case, he won't get anything at all, but he will expect to get at least one of those yellows out, and then a score of -1 isn't the end of the world. It's only the second end. Really well played end from Schwaller's team. So he could do with moving at least one of those yellows, if not both. Great effort from Mark Pfister. He was very close to getting everything out. But that is a steal of 1 to Schwaller. Well played end from Team Schwaller there, and yeah, just a couple of misses from Team Jungen. Gave themselves a bit of pressure. But it's only the second end. They've still got plenty of ends left to get 2 points back. Great effort from Mark Pfister. He was really close to making that perfectly. He needed a big weight to spring everything out. It's hard to control such a big weight, so really excellent try from him. And yeah, I think the difference between 2-0 and 3-0 is quite a lot, actually, even though we're just here in the second end. To generate a 2, I wouldn't say it's relatively straightforward, but it's significantly more straightforward than trying to generate a 3. So I think that was a decent result for Team Jungen in that second end, considering they'd missed a couple of shots and got themselves in a little bit of a mess. I think they did okay, actually, to just give up 1. So it looks like Yannick Schwaller's just gone off the ice for a minute. He's maybe going to have a 30-second power nap, since that team did not have a lot of time between their semi-final and final. Nice start from Marcel Käufele. Strategy will be the same for Bjorn Jungen in this third end. He'll still start with the corner guards, but they need to string 8 shots together. There was a couple of misses or half shots in that second end, and that got them into a bit of a pickle, that they were never really able to use their corner guards and try to start building an end. Whereas Team Schwaller, they played 8 nice shots in a row and were rewarded with a steal of 1 point. Marcel Käufele being asked to, I think, come around his first guard now. We've seen all the teams struggling a little bit with the ice, or taking a little bit of time to get used to the ice here in the arena. Yeah, I think they maybe thought that stone was running on from Käufele, but it's definitely not. Nice shots there from him. Yeah, all the teams have taken a little bit of time to get used to the slightly different ice conditions here in the arena. It's a bigger space, higher ceiling, different air currents swirling around. And that can just affect the ice a little bit. We've seen a lot of teams getting caught out with the big curl, particularly at the end of the stone, or the end of the stone's run. That's exactly what they asked for. Really nice shot there from the very experienced Simon Gempler. Now, you may look at that and say, that's not such a great shot. The yellow's still closer to the middle, and you would certainly be right, but the reason it's a good shot is because that red is very safe with that yellow right behind it. Makes it hard for Schwaller to remove the red, and that's what Jungen needs. He needs reds in the house to play with. And that is a perfect response to that lovely shot that we just saw from Simon Gempler, because as you can see, no path to the red anymore. I like that for an idea, yeah. I think that centre guard is not helping you, and you're not going to get a chance to start moving those stones ahead of tee. You're not going to get the chance to start moving those around, generate some angles while that centre guard's in the way. So I think this is the right call. You can see that nice shot from Romano Meyer took away the angle on the red. This is curling away though. He's going to roll the other way, in fact. It's going to curl so much, but that's fine. We'll take it. Schwaller's still happy to play towards the centre. No easy way of getting both of those yellows away from the centre at this time, and I think he's going to put another one in.
Sieht schnell aus. Sieht sehr schnell aus.
Brauche ich noch den Schuss?
Ich habe fast voll 12.
Brauche ich den noch?
Kann immer noch im Drücken. Achtung, Cello.
Nein, nicht Achtung, Cello. Wir können links offen lassen, aber nicht zu nah ran. Ja.
I found a really nice spot there. And you can see Team Jungen facing the same dilemma. There's nothing they can do with those stones all building up around the tee while that centre guard's in the way. So wise play from Team Schwaller. They've probably got a little bit more championship experience, I would say. As I said, all the players on the ice are pretty experienced, but I think Team Schwaller maybe has the more recent championship experience, and that might be helpful for them in this final game. Even though I think Team Jungen probably have slightly more reserves of energy. They haven't thrown quite as many stones on their way here. And it has spun itself in. Great shot there from Bjorn Jungen. Tip top indeed. He's removed that centre guard, and look at that. He's spun himself into the house right behind his own corner guard. So he could not have gone up there and placed it any better. Great shot, Bjorn Jungen. Yes, you can have a little smile to yourself. First shot then in this third end for third thrower, Michael Brunner.
Hier, Split Center da. Linie war gut. Müsst ihr noch ein bisschen curlen.
They don't want to sweep it, they want to give it a chance to curl.
Zieh ab! Hard! High! Whoa. Gut.
Has again found a nice spot. Still no easy way to those stones around the tee line. There's definitely a little bit of space. I quite like that. I think yeah, there's no reason not to just try driving the centre guard back into everything. I think if you start getting involved in playing the gentler way around the centre guard, I think you're playing a little bit into Yannick Schwaller's hands. They've got the stone in behind the corner guard, and I think the best way to try to bring that into play would be to drive the centre guard back into everything. So Jungen brother Tim now in the hack, being asked indeed to do that. Sounds like he's close. Great shot. Bravo, Tim. And he's left a guard out front, but he's really moved things around there. That asks the question back of Schwaller. That's a really nice shot. You can see now there's two reds in the house. One's behind corner guard. One's right in the middle. Yeah, he really found nice angles there. Really nice result for Tim Jungen. And the only remaining yellow is now behind tee, so that was a really excellent shot from Tim.
Eher weit. Eher weit. Linie ist noch nicht. Achtung, Linie ist gut. Ja, Linie! Linie! Hard! Whoa!
But a great reply from the always reliable Michael Brunner. So can Tim Jungen do the same trick twice? Can he drive the centre guard back into the pile and maybe get rid of that yellow? Because they wouldn't mind actually if they sacrifice the red that's just on the 1 foot circle at the moment. They wouldn't mind that if you drive the centre guard back. That centre guard is now red, whereas previously it was a yellow. So if you're driving that centre guard back, then you have a chance for that one to hang around. And in that case, they wouldn't mind sacrificing the red that's currently on the 1 foot. So various possibilities. Yeah, let's come and have a bit of a look. The danger shot is that yellow just in the front of the 4 foot circle. That's the one that's causing them trouble. If you're just joining us, we're in the third end of the final here at the Curling Masters in Champéry, an all-Swiss final. Team Jungen from Adelboden having the tournament of their life, playing Team Schwaller from Club Bern. We've got to see a few new teams on the Swiss scene. Since we're missing a few of our international guests, that gave opportunities to some of the younger Swiss teams, and they really grasped that opportunity. We've seen some great stuff from, say, Team Hess or Schnider, Klosner, easily Hösli. There's just a wealth of talent in Swiss curling. So now let's see how that works out. This was the other way of doing it, like we said, that you could leave that centre guard and just try to move the stones around behind it, but that does mean that Schwaller, he can now still play with the centre guard. So let's see how that works out. Another nice shot from Tim Jungen, that's basically what he was asked for, and it's just a slightly different tactic to leave the centre guard there, but that does mean Schwaller can use it as well.
Alles euch. Achtung! Yep. Yep. Achtung, wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Wenn wir bounce ist, in der Kante.
Yep.
Wow, wow. Wow.
Exactly like that.
That's gut dort.
It is good.
Nochmal der gleich. Jetzt noch weniger wie vorhin.
And what does Bjorn Jungen do now? I think they could perhaps play, yeah, a similar kind of shot actually. I don't think that yellow is fully covered. I'm not sure you can play this with enough weight to remove the yellow, though actually, yeah, but from this angle you can't see much of that yellow at all. So you would have to play a very careful, gentle weight at it. 3 stones to come, 2 from Team Jungen playing red, and 1 more from Team Schwaller playing yellow. Great shot from Schwaller there. That's the danger of leaving that centre guard. But yeah, I think that might be the call, is to again come around the centre guard, maybe backline hack sort of weight, and just try to catch the side of that yellow. I think there is space to move it to the right of our screen as we see it, and that looks like that's the call indeed. And if he can get to it, Mark Pfister, I have an idea his shooter will hang around and block that path, that Schwaller won't be able to play the same shot again. But tricky stuff. This is a very precise shot being asked of Mark Pfister. Oh, that's a pity. That's far from the first shot we've seen follow such a path, though. We've seen loads of stones this weekend just taking off on the curl and then catching a guard instead of making it round. And Mark Pfister, the latest casualty of this ice. So what does Yannick Schwaller do with his last shot? That red is still lying closest to the middle. Now that won't bother him very much. They are +2. So if Team Jungen gets 1 point, the situation will be 2-1 to Schwaller, and he will have last stone. So he'd be pretty happy with that. However, I doubt he's going to allow that red to hang around. If he now plays onto that yellow in front of it, then the red is going straight out the back. And yeah, they're discussing where to hit that front yellow, such that the shooter, I think, would roll a little bit to our right and potentially in behind cover. So not a huge weight. They want to, again, control the line with the sweeping, and they want the shooter to hang around, and Mark Pfister could be facing 3 yellows at the end of this stone.
Nase, das Haar aussenbord ist recht geil. Drücken wir unser Ding ein bisschen raus. Ja. Und sonst auf die Innerkante schon gut. Ja. Hey, ich weiß, was ich muss. Ich weiß, was ich muss. Ja. Gut, das wäre auch nicht gut gewesen, wenn er weghängt. Hey, wenn er vorbei wäre gekommen. Ja. Besser als jetzt. Ja.
So last stone in this third end for Schwaller.
Achtung, vier Kröme.
I think Marcel Käufler tried to get it to curl a bit more, and oh dear, that's exactly what he didn't want to do. Wow. So that stone didn't catch the curl, stayed a bit straight, and he has accidentally chipped out his own yellow and just left the red almost completely alone. Not quite sure what the discussion is here. Red is definitely lying 1 point, so that's kind of guaranteed. Let's see that yellow in the back 8 foot, that's certainly second shot, and then I think it's yellow as third shot as well. I'm not sure I would risk that. I might just take the easy 2 points here. If you pick up 2, and for Mark Pfister that would be a pretty straightforward shot, and he's even got his own red there to land on. If he gives it a little bit too much weight, then that squares the game up. But I think if you try to make a risky shot for a 3 here, mind you, there's that red also out front there that's been patiently waiting behind the corner guard all end. So they may be looking to see if there's a shot here for even 4. Yeah, they may be trying at least a shot for 3. It sounds like they're playing back line, and they will want to hit just on the right of that red stone as we see it and push it back onto the yellow, and meanwhile roll across and push out the other yellow. Again, really precise shot here. But hats off to them for trying. Was a pretty easy shot to make 2 points, and they're giving themselves a chance for 3. Oh my goodness. I think that's even picked up, because as you see, that really just jumped to our left, and that's a pity. So even if they were just trying to make the easy 2, if that had happened, they would still just be looking at 1 point. if there was a pickup on the ice there. We've had a couple of those this weekend. Yeah, typically in the arena. Can happen maybe a little bit more. There's just more, as I said, different air currents swirling around. There's the mechanical fans and the people fans. And you just maybe end up with a couple of extra little pieces of fluff or something on the ice. And that's really a pity, because they had a very easy chance for 2, and they were challenging themselves with the difficult stone for 3, and yeah, they deserved a bit better for that, Team Jungen, rather than just picking up 1 point in the third end. They worked very hard in that end, and yeah, they deserved a bit better. I hope that doesn't dent confidence or put them off in this fourth end. They need to just put that behind them, not dwell on the unfairness of it, which it certainly is. But they need to just keep working. There's nothing they can do about it now. I think that's just drifted in, that stone. It has. Yannick Schwaller indicating to remove it. So there, the score confirmed on the little scoreboard top of the screen. Just one for Jungen, and that's really a shame. I think with that backline weight, I think they were looking really good to make 2, even if they couldn't have made 3, and that would have squared the game up. So put it behind you, boys. Concentrate on this fourth end. Big sweep. You can see what they were trying to do. They were trying to remove that red and just get that yellow to hang around on the wing, but they haven't quite managed. The yellow's just outside, but that could come into play, could be useful later. A tight game out there, as we thought. But actually no team is unbeaten in the competition. Both of these teams had a loss in the round robin. Schwaller's team lost to the young Klostner team, and Jungen's team lost to Jan Hess. So very tight competition. Plenty of teams able to step up and beat each other. For the quarterfinals qualification, we had 2 unbeaten teams at that point, Retornaz and De Cruz, who both lost their semi-finals this morning. They were the only teams unbeaten, and they placed first and second in the ranking. And then we had fully 8 teams who had won 2 games, and we had to use the draw shot challenge to decide which 6 of those teams filled up the spaces in the quarterfinal. So even 2 wins was not enough. Unfortunately, Team Easily, and I think it was Team Klostner as well, I think they missed out because their draw shot challenge was not as good as the other teams, and that's pretty tough. It's a tough way to go out of a competition. But very tight competition. No real dominant team this weekend. They're staying well away from it, the sweepers. I think, again, they want it to curl. But, yeah, that's found a decent spot. They're looking for a mistake from Schwaller. They're playing that guard and hoping that they can get Schwaller to hit it more on the nose and leave a guard lying around.
Also ich finde den behalten schon noch easy. Gut.
And they do have that really long guard just over the hog line there.
Ja, ja, Linie. Wow, wow. Andere Richtung.
Should be no trouble for Romana Meyer for this kind of shot. But that's exactly what they were hoping for. Yeah, the yellow did roll, but didn't roll itself out of play. At that big weight, though, doesn't need much to roll away from the centre line. But Team Young are going to persist with this tactic, persist with playing towards the centre. They're committed to trying to steal this end by the look of it.
Ja, 2 Nummer.
Ja, Linie braucht da.
Nein. Eigentlich gut.
So same place they want it, just outside of the house and just on the centre line. Just curled off the centre line, but that's fine enough.
Der verpasst ist easy dort.
They need to be a little bit careful here, Team Jungen. If they really commit to the aggressive end, you have to have the shots to back it up.
Dicke dort ist voll.
There's already one yellow hanging around at the back. It wouldn't take a lot to spring that yellow on the right of our screen. It wouldn't take much to spring that one in. So this kind of aggressive style of play is very high risk reward. And no mistake this time from Romana Meyer. Gets rid of the guard and rolls out himself.
Gut. Single ist okay. Ich habe gedacht, fragst noch, sagst noch mal Center oder mal ein bisschen hinter. Oder da hier spielen. Sicherheit call einfach so ein bisschen.
Still an aggressive call from Björn.
Okay.
Ja, ich würde es nochmal Center gehen. Nochmal Center gehen.
Wenn wir den machen, geht er hier aber.
Ja, nochmal Center gehen.
But yeah, sounds like everyone's agreed to persist with the centre guard. Yeah, I think that's a nice idea. So Tim Jungen with his first throw of this end.
Aber das ist nachher wieder auch dumm. Also weißt irgendwie komisch.
Besser.
We're approaching the halfway stage in this final. It's an 8-end final with one extra end if scores are tied after 8. That's not a guard anymore. That's going into the house.
Board, huh? Yeah.
And Schwaller will be able to see enough of that stone to chip it out, I think. Yeah, you can see more than half, I think.
Ja, ich habe 3/4.
Ja. Drittel bereiken vorne.
Yep.
So controlled weight. Doesn't need a huge weight at this.
Yep! Wow! Yep! Wow! Ah, den Remo. Achtung! Yep! Jello, hard! Hard! Hard!
They're giving it a hard sweep at the end there.
Big roll! Hard! Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go, hard! Attaboy.
Attaboy, he says. And yeah, again, could hardly have played that better, Michael Brunner. And now Team Jungen in a little bit of a problem in this end. They don't have last shot, remember. That previous shot then, that should have been a guard, and it slipped into the house, and that has allowed Schwaller to hit and roll to have another yellow in the house. And now Team Jungen have to be careful. They don't want to let this end and potentially the game get ahead of them, get away from them. So another big sweep. And that's all over the guard as well.
Rot, yellow.
So things getting a little bit dangerous for Team Jungen out there.
Kann ich jetzt mit grosser Confidence sagen.
That was another stone we've seen really having a big strong curl and catching a guard. Yeah, he's having a look at it now. Can he bring that yellow into play? I think he can.
Aber wenn irgendwie nebendran bist, tief ist auch gut hier.
Ja.
Hier ist eigentlich recht gut, weil da ist Linie wirklich etwas Gutes näher.
Passt. Aber sicher rein.
Ja. Ja, wir dürfen nicht einfach gerade in dieser Zone sein, hier, dann können wir noch einfach nicht spielen.
Ja.
Die wir gescheit. Ja. So würde ich nie, hinter die würde ich nie spielen.
Nein, wenn, dann aufs Dolly oder so.
Ja.
Das finde ich schon gut.
Gehen wir nicht raus.
Ja. Ja, wenn wir ein bisschen rauskommen. Ja. Ja, voll.
And I'm very sorry I've been ignoring the chat. I just refreshed my screen and I did wonder that we didn't seem to have anyone saying hello. And for some reason my chat wasn't updating, but now it is, so we can
Cello! Cello!
see what's going on there.
Ist noch hure weit. Achtung! Cello, jap! Gang 3! Jap, 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 hard, 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 hard. Ist nice.
Zo. Ja. Stani. Zo, het is op. Gaan we al.
Good to see Samsung from Brazil joining us. I know they've
Liever zo, ouwe.
joined us before. I've heard that watching curling is very popular in Brazil.
Ja. Also eigentlich wäre auch immer gut.
Ja, voll.
Aber wenn man nicht wüsste, ist ja drin. Liegt drin wahrscheinlich, oder?
Immer, ja.
Da wird der schön scheiße verrückt.
Was wollen wir jetzt? Ich weiß gar nicht. Rausweg ist das Beste.
Gut.
Stani.
You may have heard us mention also, and this is being discussed a little bit in the chat, about the stones that we're using here. These stones, I believe, were used, it was at the World Junior Championships. The Youth Olympics, sorry, I've just been corrected. That was earlier on this year. And not all the stones were needed for that competition, so for some of these stones it's their first outing.
Stani. Ja. Nein, eben ja wegen dem. Stani nur. Ja. Gib mir gleich durch die Hand durch. Ja. Ja. Wow! Remme!
Nein, clean, clean,
Clean.
Cello! Halt!
Ja!
Halt!
This end looking pretty nice for Schwaller right now.
Don't. Oh,
There's only one shot left to
nicht so
come
schlecht.
for Mark Pfister and Team Jungen. They need to make a good decision and they need to make a good shot here if they let Schwaller away with picking up 2 or even more. They're giving themselves a pretty hard task to get back. Michaela asked a question about Mark's brother Enrico Pfister. I'm not sure actually, Michaela, if Enrico maybe doesn't play at all anymore or if he's just having a pause. He and his brother, the Pfister brothers, they've played together for a while. They've been pretty successful at high level.
Zwei Drittel. Schnell, oder? Ja, ja, einfach normal, nicht übertrieben. Ja. Schau, gescheiter aus, Sascha.
So this better be good. Can see Jez and Sheffield's back in the chat. I hope you also had a nice lunch. We have Curling Nord, who very often joins us as well.
Yep, yep, yep. Oh, oh,
Oh dear. Oh no. Oh, Mark. Oh no. I don't want to curse the poor team, but I'm sensing a bit of a blowout here. Yannick Schwaller has a free draw to pick up a big 4. So he's sensibly taking a little bit more ice. If he needs to, he can draw up to that yellow closest to the centre as we see it. Oh, yours, they say, so the sweepers will make sure it gets there. They've got a Bremsstein in German to catch it. Yeah, but no trouble there. All he had to do was get in the house somewhere, and that is a big 4. Yeah, that was. They were chasing that end the whole way, Team Jungen. They never quite got to grips with that end. They got themselves in a bit of a mess, and big smiles for Team Schwaller. They are now 6-1 ahead at half time. So while they regroup a bit, the Team Jungen, this is maybe a game too far for them. They maybe used up all their best shots, picking off Edin and Dorp De Cruz on the way. But let's hope again, for the sake of good curling, that they can maybe pick up a 2 in this end and start grabbing points back. But yeah, a bit of a long way back from that. You can see the score confirmed there after the halfway point. 6-1 to Team Yannick Schwaller. We can see curling fan from Regina, SK, I guess, is that Saskatchewan, who's up very early on Sunday morning, called Curling Sickness. That doesn't sound very nice, but hopefully you're not feeling sick. Thank you for getting up early to join us.
Englisch gut. Bisschen knapp. Ja, Englisch gut.
And my lunch consisted of Oreo cookies today. As we said, we didn't really have a lot of turnaround time between the end of the semi-final and the beginning of this final. So I just had a handful of cookies, and I shall have a proper lunch after the game. And speaking of which, we really want Team Jungen to have a strong end here. So they're 6-1 down, and getting 1 point here isn't really going to help them. They really need to work hard to try and get 2 here, so that's why they've put up the corner guard. We might even see them put up a second corner guard on the other side. Perfect start again from Marcel Kleufler, and that's exactly what Bjorn Jung is going to do. He's going to put up a second corner guard on the other side and really try to squeeze a couple of points out of the 5 rock free guard zone. Wow, we have Gavin watching from Australia. So we've really got a huge community out there. We've got someone, we've got Curling Sickness up early in Regina, and we've got Gavin staying up late in Australia. So thanks everyone for joining us. That makes it really fun. Yeah, so again, in the old days, Schwaller could remove one of those corner guards. In the 5 rock free guard zone world, he can't. So after this shot, Bjorn Jungen is still going to have his 2 corner guards, and Schwaller's going to have to do something else. Yeah, we'll probably see him throw more like a centre guard. Or nothing at all. That's also not at all a silly decision. He doesn't necessarily want any more stones in play. So somewhat unusual for a second player to be asked to just throw the stone away.
Backline. So gone. Good. Good.
I think Michaela in the chat's probably the furthest west of the curling community watching this in San Diego, so she's either up early or up very late.
Ja, is goed, backline.
Yep. And then up. Yep.
English. Backline.
Yep. Fast linie.
It sounds like someone's saying it's back line. They don't want this to go too far.
Yep. Ja, ja.
So nice idea there to try to get some protection from the yellows that were in the middle.
Snel.
But you can see it, yeah, it's sprung
Vind
open.
snel is zo goed. Wenn man es stikken, hier ist easy und innen verspritzen now.
And Schwaller can easily remove that one.
Yep.
So this is a more familiar shot for
Yep.
Romana Meyer.
Whoa, whoa. Oh,
No mistake there.
No bad.
wet.
And he's found a nice roll. Those yellows very nicely lined up. Pretty difficult to remove 3.
Aber wenn wir sitzen
Could even be difficult to remove 2 of those the way they're set up.
Wenn wir sitzen in der Raum, können wir Corner gar nie mehr brauchen.
So again,
Kannst du da nehmen?
Hoezo?
Jungen threw up those corner guards.
Dat is ja gleich. Doe
He
nog
doesn't
maar zo.
really want to get drawn towards the centre. He'd rather use his corner guards, but yeah, I like that.
Corner guard leggen.
Oder zo even.
Yeah, I think we need to start using the corner guard.
En met de man eronder, zo.
Although I do see their dilemma. They don't really want too
Ja, wenn
many
ik het
yellows
twee
piling up in the
eronder heb,
centre.
neem hem laat twee.
I like that idea though, to use that first yellow
Goed.
Speelt dat?
Graad weer beneden.
Speelt nog zügig mit überwickeln,
to
sonst ist es halt
roll
der
off
Grad.
in behind cover.
Het is center, zo.
You've certainly still got chances to score 2 points in this end, Team Jungen.
Nou,
They've set it up nicely.
straf is goed.
A nice shot here in behind cover, and that would really set them up well.
Wow!
Ja.
I think that was neither one nor the other. If they were throwing that big weight, they needed to catch more than one stone.
Bij proberen oder einfach die
And
beste Regard nehmen.
if they were being a bit more precise
Schwierig bij
to
diese
make
Flanke.
sure that red hung
Einfach die
around
beste
behind
Regard.
cover, then they should maybe just have said to themselves, okay, we're just going to go for the front yellow, but make sure that we keep that red in play, and they would have needed a bit less weight for that. So it ended up neither one nor the other. And at the end of this shot, they're only going to have one corner guard to try to use.
Yep! Hard! Go, go, ja. Dan is hij echt.
So a half shot there from Michael Brunner. He did remove the corner guard, but all he's done is spin it over to the other handle, actually. And now
Elf.
the curling gods have thrown Bjorn Jungen a bit of a lifeline. Now he certainly has the opportunity to hit those yellows and get in behind cover. So you can make a big difference here, Tim Jungen.
Yep! Oh! Yep! Yep!
He's still throwing quite high weight at this, I think, but more control than last time.
Good.
He's got it pretty good. Yeah, that's a nice result. Well done, Tim.
Zo, hè.
There's definitely a hole there, but
Gelb rot.
not easy.
Was, zus?
Ga direct auf der rot.
I'm not sure you can get through that hole, you know, and catch enough of the red still when you're curling away from the centre line.
Beides okay.
Da, welke vuur is die beste?
But that's why these guys are on the ice and I'm up here.
Gelb rot ist gut.
They know the lines much better than me.
Hast recht Winkel. 4-5 du innen bis 2/3, du bist gut.
Passt.
I think, again, this might be the easier way of doing it, is to
Ja, erst
play yellow onto red, or they may just be removing the yellow completely.
Ja!
Yep.
Hi! 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 Meer Chance, Mann.
So they got one.
Finger legen.
One result, let's say. They have removed that yellow cleanly.
Neerlegen.
Spun out himself. It sounded like it was close to maybe picking out the red on the way,
Easy bleiben.
but that red is now still there. So this end now looking a bit happier for Team Jungen.
Schon gut.
Definitely chances now to capitalise on the troubles in Team Schwaller's end. And this chance all stemmed from that half shot from Michael Brunner. That gave Bjorn Jungen the chance to get a stone behind cover, which he has, and now he wants to just consolidate that, make sure that Schwaller isn't getting rid of it. So that looks like we're in pretty much the same position as we were 2 stones ago. Yeah, almost exactly. So Schwaller reckons there's a route through those 2 stones. He must be feeling confident, as we've seen the curl on this ice. It's quite difficult. So I don't think this will be a gentle wait. Don't hold back, Yannick.
Schuss straight, aber ein bisschen etwas gehört sie trotzdem. Hast du noch ein?
Noch ein.
Ja.
Yeah, he doesn't mind if he hits the outside of this rock, it just has to go away.
Gut. Ja. Yep. Well, yep.
Sounds promising. He is through the gap. And cleanly picks out the red. Yeah, nice shot there. As we said, the curl on this ice, there's a lot of curl out there. Getting it through that gap. Not so straightforward. He makes it look very easy, but that was a tough shot. Well done, Yannick. There is the chance, though, to play something similar to what they did before, Team Jungen, so they can use that yellow. Just bump the yellow through and roll to the right of our screen behind cover. First shot from Mark Pfister in this 5th end. They could really do with picking up 2, so this shot important to get correct. That gentler weight, they need to control the shooter as well. I think that's ended up right in the middle of the gap again. Not quite, but if Yannick Schwaller plays exactly the shot he's just played, I think he will indeed get rid of that red. He's just put that stone through the gap, but getting a stone through a gap can be difficult. But yeah, he's just played this shot. And I expect we'll see exactly the same stone. So a big solid weight, because he doesn't want the stone to curl. He really wants the stone to end up basically where Michael Brunner's brush already is. So another big throw from Yannick Schwaller to finish this end off for him.
Yep. Yep.
They're sweeping it harder this time, but he's done it again. Through the gap twice. Bravo, Yannick Schwaller. Now, what does Bjorn Jungen do here? We've seen plenty of teams in this situation would potentially take a blank end, but they're running out of ends out there. This is already the 5th end. They are 5 points behind, and I'm not sure they can afford to blank this end. I don't see them getting 5 points back in 3 ends. But as we said, scoring only 1 in this end, it doesn't really help them. But let's see. I think, yeah, it looks like Mark Pfister is indeed going to play a T-weight. I think there's no advantage to blanking this end. I think they really have to put this point on the board. So they gave them, again, they gave themselves chances, Team Jungen. Just shows you how important it is to control the roll and really make sure it's buried behind cover. You can't give Yannick Schwaller a look at it. 1 point there for red, safely on the board. And I think that was a wise decision. I don't think they have enough ends to start messing around with a blank end. They're -5 points, so nicely done, Mark Pfister. That's 1 point safely on the board. They are going to have to do this the long way. They need to steal and steal and steal one more end. They're certainly capable of doing it, as I said. They've worked their way here absolutely magnificently. They're playing some wonderful curling this weekend. They've definitely got the shots to pull this game back. But they really just need to put their heads down and get on with it. They're going to be facing a lot of hits from Team Schwaller, who don't want to keep shots in play. They're +4. They want to keep everything clean, and you have to really keep your concentration in this situation. You're going to be facing a lot of hits. It's a big hitting team, Yannick Schwaller's team. They're very accurate. And you need to put your head down, concentrate on your guard weight, concentrate on your draw weight. Golly, Yannick Schwaller is going for the tick shot already. He's eager to finish this game off. We've seen Marcel Keufler play a couple of these tick shots very nicely already this game. So he'll be throwing about backline wake or hack, it sounds like.
Out. Whoa. Yep. Yep. Hard.
He's certainly got the red, but if that red goes out of play, we'll put everything back. No, it hasn't. And you might look at that and think, goodness me, that's a terrible shot, but it isn't. It moved the red off the centre line. That red is in the house, and they can hit it. That's now a yellow out front, and Schwaller can hit that as well. So that was actually an excellent shot from Marcel Keufler. Well, like I said, you're going to be facing a lot of accurate, good shots like this from Team Schwaller, and if you're going to claw this game back, you need to not let that get into your head. You need to just concentrate on your own game, on your own shots, which they have. Very nice. And that's exactly what we thought Yannick Schwaller might do. So that yellow is only protected in the free guard zone from the opposition. If it's your colour, if it's your stone, you can hit it out if you want, and that's exactly what he's doing. So this is a slightly unusual shot for Marcel Keufler. Removing his own guard and wanting to roll away. He does. Yeah, that's all right. Schwaller has the hammer. All he needs is that he wants the centre clear. So he didn't remove that guard completely, but has moved it much further to the left, Marcel Keufler. Curling Sickness says, is it just B, or are the blue team's tactics awful? I think that's maybe a little bit harsh, Curling Sickness. Certainly Schwaller's team, as I said, I think they've probably got more experience at the championship level, and they are likely to make fewer mistakes, let's say, tactically. I think there have, maybe been a couple of decisions that Jungen could have done a bit differently. But I think, to be honest, I don't think it's their tactics that are letting them down. I think they're just not quite playing as well as they have been playing all weekend. I think maybe it's a game too far for them, or maybe Schwaller's team have really turned on the juice, but I think they're just not quite executing their shots well.
Ich bin ausgerutscht irgendwie. Ja, ja, ist gut.
Ja, da komme ich nicht her. Nicht verstecken. Nicht verstecken. Wenn schon neu sind die rote, aber das würde erst nachher. Ja.
Important that Team Jungen tries to score something here. I don't think they can let Schwaller score again.
Kommt nach.
I think even if Team Schwaller pick up one in this end, I think they might decide that that's enough, that they're too far ahead.
Gut.
Freeze.
Gut.
So I see the point just now. I'm not quite sure
Für mich
what
freeze dort wieder nicht
the
Job
call
mit dem
was
Draw.
there. So corner guards are not really going to help Team Jungen at this point, I don't think.
Aber wenn es eigentlich draußen bleibt, finde ich easy.
All that will happen if Team Jungen
Wir
have
können es ein bisschen mit dem Tab spielen.
stones behind corner guards is that with Yannick Schwaller's last shot, he will draw to the centre, pick up 1 point,
Du musst schon die Zieleinlänge hinabtun.
and I think that might be enough to
Da passiert nichts Schlimmes draussen.
put this game beyond Team Jungen, so they don't really want to force Yannick Schwaller to score
Ein
one.
bisschen zu wenig Geld, wo du mal rausgespielt hast. Das war lang dran gewesen.
Ich habe ja. Meine ist aber nicht.
Ich würde trotzdem so.
Aber der ist wieder 80 von Miguel auch. Gell?
Ja, weil wir ja auch so eine Ziellänge,
Ja,
oder?
ja, voll. Aber ich finde sie ist nicht so schlecht.
Gut.
Ich glaube schon nach Gefühl.
Michaela's point in the chat is completely possible, that Schwaller had a very quick turnaround between their semi-final and the final, so maybe they're still kind of pumped up from that.
Ja, ja, Migu.
Yeah, you can see it either way.
Jetzt wirklich?
Ja, Eck.
Ja, Cello. Keine Chance. Das ist ein Riesenbullet.
Yeah, nothing happening with that stone. Does neither one nor the other, so that is a mistake from Schwaller, but as you can see, that I'm not quite sure what's the thinking here for Team Jungen. I don't think they've been playing
Falls nur mal einen Draw muss spielen, geht's.
wrong tactics until this point, but I'm not quite sure what they're aiming for here. As I said, if they persist with this, all they're doing is they're going to force Yannick Schwaller to score one in the centre, which is fine if you're Yannick Schwaller.
Ich weiß natürlich auch nicht, ob es eine halbe Stunde später immer so ist.
Nein. Ist gut.
Innen ist gut. Was immer?
Eigentlich gut.
Deswegen kann ich ja nicht sagen, ey, es ist mega viel.
Innen Platz.
Mach schon einen Freeze aus mir.
So.
Sie sind nicht gleich 100.
Vorlänge, ja.
Innen ist sehr gut.
Schleifen.
Schleift. Schleift schön. Wenn der
Oh,
Mann.
Gut.
So yeah, nothing wrong with that shot, but I don't think it will bother Yannick Schwaller by the end of the sixth end.
Also wir gehen wieder. So, oder? Ja. Ja, tipptopp. Bis Freeze. Ja, voll.
Same idea, I think. Then they're still going for that red on the right of our screen.
Sieht kurz aus.
They will either
Mini-Busch.
Yep.
have moved the brush
Yep, go Römer.
in a little bit closer to the target stone, or maybe Michael Brunner has played a bit less weight. See, I think he has. They're giving that a hard sweep.
Das ist sehr gut. Zieh! Zieh!
Nog een, nog een.
Okay.
Okay, goed.
Zo gut.
Ooh, and that's just over curled for them.
Bisschen Shot. Nochmal hier. Oh, du kannst auch hier
So you can see the idea was
Nein, nein.
that yellow would just curl a wee bit less than that, and it would stick on the red but be short. But you can see it just over curled, and the red is still beating it.
Zo goed.
But like I said, in the final analysis, none of this is really bothering Yannick Schwaller. If he can pick up two, I reckon he can close the game out right here. And even if he picks up one, we might see one more end, but I'm not sure this is really helping Team Jungen. You can see that 4 foot, even the 8 foot almost, completely clear for Schwaller.
Mit der Backline.
Ja.
Backline fand ich recht cool.
Ist gut.
Ist gut. So voll wie wir können.
Yep.
It sounds like they want to play a fairly similar shot, kind of backline way, and they want to play onto that yellow on the right of our screen. And
Backline ist nur 2 Meter mehr.
Ja, voll.
he says just a couple of meters more, and he would spring the red out the back. So that's a nice close-up shot of Michael Brunner. All these guys have lovely smooth deliveries, very stable and steady.
Schweck. Wow, schweck.
Ooh, gosh, that really took off. Yeah, I think Yannick's saying it's already wrecked.
Ja, ja.
So that stone really curled out of hand,
Ja, ist nicht.
and that's not going to do anything. So that's the second clean miss, honestly, from Schwaller's team this end.
Let it die, yeah. Let it die.
Mit
But
höher ist das für den Center.
Mina Edin, ja.
Team Jungen,
Mina Edin, ja.
I'm not convinced taking advantage of it, full advantage of it.
Kann eigentlich.
Aber ihr noch 3 Meter nach mir.
Ich habe noch Pick.
85.
Oh, ja.
Yeah, and in the chat, pointing out, just discussing that having a quick lunch, or having a handful of cookies as I did, if you're an athlete out there, yeah, you do need to be careful what you eat. You need some energy for this game. You don't just want to have a bit of a sugar rush and then crash, so it is important, timing of food and what you eat. So Team Jungen persisting with leaving the 4 foot open for Yannick Schwaller's last stone, which is a bit of an odd sort of a tactic. And if he can get a sneaky 2 here, Schwaller, as I said, I think he could potentially finish the game right here. Playing with fire a bit, Team Jungen's tactics in this end, I think.
Linie ist schon gut. Die Frage ist, ob er lang ist.
Sounds like everyone's happy with it.
Jungs, sie haben lang.
Ja, Achtung.
Nein, let it die. Let it die.
And it's conveniently started speaking in English for us. He just said, let it die, let it just curl itself. And you can see all this drawing to the corners has really only helped Schwaller. I'm not quite sure what they were hoping. One more shot only for Mark Pfister to come, and one more shot for Yannick Schwaller, and at this rate I fancy Yannick Schwaller may be able to finish the game here.
Ja. Kom maar om, backline, wees.
Nochmal.
Nee, nee. Goed. Am Schluss müsst ihr schauen, dass ihr denkt. Einfach 10 Meter länger.
So this has to be good for Mark Pfister. I think even 1 point for Schwaller is putting this game out of their reach. It sounds like a good try. And it is a good shot from Mark Pfister. Really precisely played, well done. But yeah, this was Yannick Schwaller's last shot all along. Was a nice open draw to the centre.
Also wenn wir gleich spielen, sind wir sicher gut. Oder?
I think red are lying 2.
Das sind wir natürlich wahrscheinlich auch schon
Yeah, I think they're lying 2 red, and that puts some pressure, I guess, on Schwaller. But really, not that much. All he has to do is find the 8 foot, and we're in the final of this competition. And you're asking the European silver medalist to miss the 8 foot, which I don't think he will.
Alles ruhig.
Ja, ja. Ist nicht mehr gegangen.
Habe ein bisschen früher losgelassen. Take a
Giving
look.
it a big old sweep, but yeah, I agree. Michael Brunner's saying,
Make sure.
let's have a look. We don't want to oversweep it.
14, yeah, I'm okay.
And yeah, that's exactly what we thought was going to happen in this end all along. Is 1 point for Schwaller. And indeed, yeah, that's enough. That's put the game out of reach. That big 4 in the 4th end. That really made it quite a mountain to climb for Team Jungen. So big sigh from Team Schwaller. That's been a busy day at the office for them. I think, yes, sore shoulders, aching muscles out there, but well worth it.
Let's go home.
Let's go home, they say. Yeah, let's all go home and have a bit of a pause on the sofa. But congratulations to Team Schwaller. Like I said, they were really up against it for the first half of their semi-final this morning. I didn't see them getting out of it, actually, but yeah, they know what they're doing, this team. They're champions. They dug it out bit by bit, and then that was quite a dominant performance for me in this final. I think the Jungen team, they've played very well to get here, but they weren't quite finding their shots, and yeah, Schwaller's team really hit the ground running in this final. So I think that's definitely a fair result. I think Schwaller's team were the more consistent. They were the stronger team here in the final, and a well-deserved win for them. Smiles all round. So they will pick up a very nice prize of 8,000 Swiss francs. Team Jungen can console themselves with a second prize of 5,000 francs, so not at all a bad day at the office for them. Good to see Bjorn Jungen still smiling. But yeah, there's a big trophy, this one, and that's Team Schwaller's first time winning the Champéry trophy. And they're in very nice company. Yeah, your hair looks fine, Yannick. Dorp De Cruz has won this championship twice, in 2018 and the very first one in 2011. Niklas Edin has won this championship twice, back to back, in 2016 and 17. Last year's champions, they dumped out on the way. That was Team Van Dorp from Netherlands, and Schwaller beat them in the quarter-final last night. Big smiles all round. Quite right too. They had some tough games on the way. They really had to find good shots and dig out a couple of tough situations, so really well deserved to Schwaller's team. Everyone does look like they will go home and have quite a nice snooze this evening though. But congratulations also to Team Jungen. Great performance from them. I hope they're happy with their weekend's work. A little bit disappointing for them in the final. We know they can play a bit stronger than that, and that's a shame. But great performance to get to this final, knocking out De Cruz and Edin on the way. Congratulations to them. And keep that name in mind. That's maybe not a name we've seen too much of, but they're very much taking advantage of the situation where some places are free in a tournament that typically might not be. And definitely making the most of it. So not such a tight final as we were maybe hoping for. But good day's work from Team Schwaller. They really hung tough. And well-deserved smiles all round. So I can quickly just answer Michaela's question. Well, actually, I don't really have an answer for you, Michaela, which is what's the next event we're covering for the WCT. I think the problem or the situation is that we're not really sure which tournament we'll be having next. We're not sure if and when the tournaments can go ahead. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't really have an answer for you, and that's because we're not sure when the curling will be happening next time. And that's nice words from Jess to say thanks to WCT and sponsors and the venue. And thank you to Mr. Technical. That's our technical guru, Martin. That we don't get to see or hear him very often, but he's the one that is in charge of getting this really lovely coverage. So thank you everyone for joining us here in Champéry. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, there's plenty of games in the video vault to watch. Plenty of interesting stuff. Tight games, blowout games. We've had everything this weekend. Thank you everyone for joining us, and I'm not sure when we will be back online, but keep eyes on worldcurlingtour.org, on the Instagram, on the Facebook, and that will keep you up to date with the next competition. So thanks everyone for joining us. Bye for now.